Hello and welcome back! Today we'll be tackling the next Night Elf area, Darkshore. I don't really remember much about this area, so I expect a good deal of googling ahead in my future. We have a lot of quests to get through, so let's begin. We can begin at the Flightmaster for our tour of Auberdine, as we ended off Teldrassil by flying over. On the wooden platform with the Flightmaster is Gwyneth Blylegund. She tells us that sea creatures are beaching themselves along the coastline at an ever-increasing rate. The Temple of Elune has sent her to investigate, but Murlocs have surrounded the remains. She needs us to go directly south of Auberdine and collect the bones of the creatures surrounded by Greymus warlocks there. We can head to the nearby beach from the platform and find Gubber Blump. Gubber's family likes to fish, and he also fishes. There is a fish in Darkshore called Darkshore Grouper he used to fish before the Murlocs moved in. If we can help him catch 6 Darkshore Groupers, he'll give us a Blump family fishing pole with +3 fishing on it. So, off camera, I leveled up my fishing in Teldrassil and then in Darkshore to get fish for cooking. I might already have 6 groupers. Gubber says there's a lot of dishes for the Darkshore groupers, but I haven't seen a cooking recipe for them yet. He thanks us and tells us that we have what it takes to use a family fishing pole. Gubber loves crab. They are the fruit of the sea. You can bake it, barbecue it, boil it, broil it, pan fry, deep fry, and stir fry. There are many recipes for them too. He's too busy fishing to get crab, but you can get it from the reef crawlers and do many things to them. We can head north now and go into the main dock building. There's a baker in the corner and a fish vendor by the ramp. He sells a cooking recipe, Filet of Frenzy. The middle counter has the innkeeper. On the other side of the ramp is a drink vendor, and in the north corner is a food and drink vendor. Up the ramp is the exit to the docks. To the left is the Menethil Harbor boat, to the right is the Teldrassil boat, and the furthest boat is the Azure Mist boat. We can talk to Krullian Whiteclaw on the dock. In the aftermath of the Well of Eternity invasion, Ameth Aran had been destroyed. All of the people died, including his love Anaya. Thousands of years later, memories of Anaya still haunt his dreams. He found himself in the ruins of Ameth Aran and found the haunted spirit of Anaya. He cannot release her spirit. He lacks the heart to do it, so he wants us to do it for him. Back to the building, we can go to the 3rd floor and find Whiz Bang Crank Toggle. He has a new invention, the Buzzbox. It's a long-range communication device. Think a handheld radio the size of a TV. They are scattered around Darkshore, but they need constant maintenance. Each box has a different maintenance need, but he placed them nearby the creatures who provide the parts to do so. Buzzbox 827 needs 6 crawler legs to fix it, and he'll pay for our services. Just a small aside, if you thought the Barrens was bad for low drop rate hunting quests, Darkshore is definitely giving the Barrens a run for their money on creatures missing all of their limbs and internal organs rate. Because my fishing is high enough, I can do the second quest for him. He moved to Auberdine specifically for the quiet atmosphere so he could have his hangovers from nights of drinking in peace. He got drunk on the way here and lost his box of gaffer jacks overboard. Hopefully, we might be able to fish them up from the ocean. We can find a wanted poster outside the main building. There is a reward for the death of the Murloc called Murkdeep. It's responsible for killing at least 1 sentinel and sinking 2 cargo vessels. Murkdeep was last seen at a Murloc camp south of Auberdine and is thought to be protecting it. This bounty was posted by the Auberdine Village Council, which is a neat lore blurb that Night Elves use a council for their towns. There's a moonwell nearby, which we'll have a couple quests using the water from it. At the northern corner of the inn, we can talk to Barthras Moonshade. He is devising a potion that requires rare mushrooms that grow only in the Cliffspring Falls in the northeast of Auberdine. The Grove of the Ancients advise him to stay away from the cave as they can sense a new evil has taken root inside. If we could, he wants us to collect the mushrooms he needs and scout out the cave to confirm what presence has taken root there. Up at the small hut to the southeast, we can find a ghost called Yalda. She doesn't have any quests and seems to just be quietly watching over Auberdine. I suppose the honored ancestors don't have to look like wisps. There also isn't anything in the hut. Next to the bridges, we can talk to Sentinel Galinda Nalshay. Hostile Moonkin roam the woods to the east. They used to be gentle creatures, and some still hold reverence for them, but their aggression cannot be left unchecked. Reports say that the Moonkin are being drawn to a large red crystal along the mountain range. In order to figure out what this crystal is, we need to confirm if it exists at all and report back to what we find. Across the bridge to the north, we can talk to archaeologist Holly, who Grey Whisker wanted us to find. She was assigned to work under Prospector Remtravel, who is famous at the Academy in Ironforge for his great discoveries. While inspecting some ruins, they discovered evidence of a great society. Golems sprang forth and overran the site, but Rem Travel didn't seem to notice at all. Holly ran to Auberdine to gather help. We need to see if Rem Travel is alright at their dig site to the south. On the other side of the building, we can find a forge and anvil with an engineering trainer, mining supplies vendor, mining trainer, blacksmith trainer, and blacksmith supplies vendor. We can talk to the trade supplies vendor, Gorbolt Steelhand. Off the coast of Darkshore to the north are 2 wrecked ships. They were sunk by Murlocs while traveling to Auberdine. Both captains didn't make it. Their logs and effects are still in the sunken ships. He would like us to recover them for the surviving crew members. Inside the building, in the west wing, we can find a leather armor and leatherworking supplies vendor, as well as an armorer and shield vendor. Mavrelin sells some leatherworking patterns. In the north wing, we can find a general goods vendor, a weaponsmith, and thunderous windweaver. We can hand him the letter of introduction we received from Azure Mist. Azure Mist and Blood Mist was inhabited by the Night Elves long ago, and the Draenei encountered ancient enemies of the Elves. He will speak with the townspeople and sentinels about sending aid to the Draenei. The ruins of Bashala Rand to the northeast are overrun with demonic minions. They feed upon the magic energies in the area, their powers growing with the exposure. Thunderous has noticed there is one shrine they will not approach on the western side of the ruins. A strange blue aura permeates from it. He would like us to investigate the anomaly. The ruins of Methoran are to the south and were once the home of many powerful Highborn. Highborn are what the noble elves from the former capital city called themselves before the Sundering. Any who wanted to continue using magic and the Well of Eternity were banished from Kalimdor and eventually settled Silvermoon to become known as High Elves. Since then, the elves who remained in Kalimdor came to be known only as Night Elves, with no caste system in place anymore. Highborn were primarily responsible for the Sundering. Spirits of the Highborn persist in the ruins and wield ancient magical implements. We are to collect these implements so they can be destroyed before they are misused. Rain Wolfrunner has passed through Auberdine towards Ashenar and Ashenvale. She has mentioned furbolgs, but he wasn't able to ask more about it. If we have the time, we should seek her out and offer our aid. We can talk to Alandarium Nightsong, who has a secret recipe for fresh strider stew. If we would like to learn the recipe, we need to prove we can handle the plain striders by bringing back 5 strider meat. You can already guess how many plain striders were needed for this. It wasn't 5. In the east wing, we can find a tailoring supplies vendor who was selling some recipes, a tailoring trainer, and a cloth armor vendor. Heading southeast over another bridge, we can find Gershala Night Whisper under a gazebo. Blood elves are messing with demonic magic. Gershala ponders if they remember nothing about how the Naga and the Satyr came about. Azeroth cannot afford another race of corrupted beings. He wants us to study the brainstems of Satyr and Naga to see how elves were twisted into these forms. We can find both at Black Phantom Depths. While these aren't strictly heads, we do have to harvest heads to get brainstems, so I'm going to count them when we get to it. At the lodge to the east, we can talk to Thanarian Tree Tender. A sickness spreads across Darkshore. The thistle bears have been hit the worst by it. They have become rabid and frenzied. Thanarian might have a cure. We need to trap one of the rabid thistle bears by temporarily calming it and bringing it back to Thanarian. On the first floor of the lodge, we can find Terenthus. He mentions he's figured out how much the fell moss has been spreading through Darkshore, and that the corruption of Teldrassil should concern the druids. One of his friends had been saved from the corrupted Furbolg in Teldrassil, and he is determined to keep such scenarios from happening again. We need to continue the investigation by finding a Furbolg camp here in Darkshore and see if the corruption has spread significantly. On the second floor, we can find Sentinel Elisa Starbreeze. She sent Bathul Shadowstrike to observe the strange happenings around the Tower of Alphalax. He's missed his last check-in. We should look for him around the tower to the northeast and ensure he is still doing well. After that absolute pile of quests collected, we can head north from Auberdine to start completing them. As we run around, we kill any plain strider we spot to start collecting meat. We loop around to the beach and start taking out tide crawlers for their legs. After way more crabs killed than necessary, we have our 6 legs. Since we ended up nearby the sunken ships, we swim out to them and clear out the hold of a few Murlocs. We find the Silver Dawning's lockbox in the west wreck, and the Mistveil's lockbox in the east wreck. Back to shore, we head east and come across the ruins of Bashalaran. Finding the glowing blue shrine, there is an elf inside called Asterion. He's immediately got the tone of an arrogant noble, basically calling us only better company because everyone else in the area are demons. Then he tries to backpedal when he realizes insulting his only non-demon visitor is unwise. He talks of his life story being a long and painful one, with being stuck as a ghost in this pavilion being the worst torment of all. The blue glow is a magic barrier keeping him trapped. A seal binds him there, and perhaps the earpieces of the Grell might prove a clue on how to free him. He would be grateful beyond words if we were to help him. I don't think I'd be a very well-adjusted conversationalist either after being stuck as a ghost in ruins for thousands of years, so I'll give him a hand. We take a few loops around the ruins, taking out Grell until we have 8 earrings. Back to Astarion, he tells us he can use the earrings to cast a spell to track down the seal holding him. We give him the earrings, and he finds that the Grell do not have the right jewelry to help him. The Grell have been nearby the object he's looking for, however. The seal is most likely being carried around by the satyr, also milling around the ruins. He implores us to find the satyr that has the ancient seal and bring it back to him, his freedom so close at hand. Another low drop rate quest. It takes us about 10 minutes of circling the ruins to finally find the seal. We bring it back to Astarion, who tells us he's been stuck here for over 1,000 years, wondering if he will still be here when the stone wore away and nothing was left but invisible bars. We give him the seal, and he seems genuinely touched we found it for him. It needs to be destroyed to free him. One of the most powerful Highborn crafted that seal to imprison him. In Ametharan, to the south, there is a blue flame that can destroy the seal. We should be wary when we venture there. Since we are going to head back to Auberdine, we quickly find a rabbit thistlebear nearby, use the trap to pacify it, and bring it back with us. We can bring the bear to Thanarion, who tells us the work has only begun. He tries the cure, but it does not work. The sick and tainted bears cannot be saved and need to be put down to prevent uncontrolled contamination. He wants us to kill 20 rabbit thistlebears. While this won't halt the plague, it will slow down the damage it will cause. Next to Terenthis, we can now find Sentinel Solaran. Rain Wolfrunner awaits us in Ashenar. With our help, they wish to ease some of the corruption taking root in Ashenvale. We can give the log boxes to Gorbold. He says the captains of those ships deserve a better fate than they were given. He makes sure their effects are properly taken care of. He offers us a reward for having the bravery to set things right. Back to the Flightmaster platform, we can give Buzzbox 827 the crawler legs we collected. After we place them in, a grinding begins, seeming to shuffle the legs into their proper placement. It begins to hum, and a voice comes from the box. It's Whizbang, using the box as a radio. He asks if we wouldn't mind fixing another one. The next box is north of Auberdine, on the beach. This one needs 3 Thresher Eyes from Darkshore Threshers just off the coast. Once we place them in the box, we'll get another reward. It also sounds like Whizbang might have been indulging a bit in the spirits while we were off hunting crabs. Since we are down by the shore in Auberdine, we take a break from adventuring and have a fishing break to find the 8 gafferjacks that were dropped in the ocean. I also open a message in a bottle I fished up, which just had a scroll of strength in it. We bring the gafferjacks to Whizbang, who tells us we must be the luckiest Draenei in Kalimdor for finding them. He wants to put our luck to the test. He was trying to find a good river or lake to test out a self-propelled exploding duck decoy while a little tipsy when he woke up hours later in Auberdine. His hair was singed and his electropellers were gone. He really needs those electropellers, so maybe we could try our luck fishing them out of a lake or stream somewhere. We head out into the ocean around Auberdine to find the Darkshore Threshers. We find 3 eyes while heading north up the coast. We keep following the coast until we find Buzzbox 411. Placing the 3 eyes inside seems to repeat the same process as last time until a voice is produced. It mentions crawler wine, before being impressed we finished another box already. Whizbang has another box that could use fixing. We can hear liquid being poured into a cup, then large gulps. The next box is north of Auberdine too, but it's on the road this time nearby a bridge. This one needs 6 Moonstalker fangs. Can you guess how many Moonstalkers it takes to find 6 fangs? I'll give you a hint. It's more than 6. It's by now I've noticed a repeating pattern in Darkshore. If you thought the Barrens was bad for low drop rates, at least the Barrens had quests that did something else while hunting low drop rate items. So far, I'm pretty sure my character is responsible for most of the wildlife devastation in the area. At least Hemant Nesingwary will be proud of me. We do a sweep of northern Darkshore for all the animals we've been asked to kill for parts, which feels weird for a Night Elf area. I suppose the quests are all coming from dwarves or gnomes, though that just speaks more of how much the Alliance doesn't respect Night Elves than anything else. While running around, we find Bathul next to the tower. He has troubling news to report and no means to deliver it. A group of warlocks have taken up residence around and in the tower. He would have delivered the report to Elisa himself, but didn't want to leave in case he missed something important. Delgren suspected there could be a gathering like this here, but not why. Bethul has managed to get a few scraps of parchment the warlocks carried, but needs more to figure out the mystery here. We should stick to the warlocks outside, as the ones in the tower are much more powerful. We spot a druid struggling with the warlocks and team up together to take out the warlocks. It takes a couple circles around the tower before we find the 4 parchments. The warlock here call themselves the Cult of the Dark Strand. It's a group Bethul hasn't heard of before, so he can't speculate on what their plans might be. We need to send a warning to Delgren immediately. Delgren the Purifier is a paladin who has offered his assistance against the demons and undead in the forest. We can find him at Maestra's post just past the Ashenvale border. We need to be quick, as the threat of the cult grows. I'm sure it can wait until I finish killing everything in Darkshore first. Our new druid friend joins us in the slaughter, first finding the 5 strider meat we need for the cooking recipe. We finish killing 20 rabid bears next, and our druid friend bids us farewell. We run across the furball camp we were tasked to find, and it definitely looks like these bear men aren't feeling very friendly. It takes another 20 minutes to find 6 Moonstalker fangs. I'm telling you, the Barrens was not this brutal for drop rates. We bring the fangs to Buzzbox 323 by the bridge. Before we put the fangs in, we can hear a faint static and gnome ramblings. Perhaps someone has already put some fangs in before us? The fangs are quickly ground to dust in the box before Whizbang's voice can be heard. He wants to move us along, unless we want another job. The Buzzbox is now making boiling and dripping noises. The next box is on the road south, nearby a fence and some bushes. We need grizzled scalps from the bears this time. There is now more gulping sounds before he shouts 4 at us. As you can tell, this gnome is a complete alcoholic. Since we are nearby the coast, we gather the 6 fine crab chunks from the tide crawlers on the beach. Instead of running back, it's time to hearth back with these full to bursting bags. We head to Gubber Blump and hand him the crab chunks, where we find he is still listing crab recipes. He found a piece of gear while fishing earlier and gives it to us as a reward, since he can't exactly cook it like crab. He told us about the crabs, right? I will admit, it was only at this point that I finally got the reference. Gubber is Bubba from Forrest Gump, referencing the shrimp gag where he lists all the dishes you can make with shrimp. If you haven't seen the movie Forrest Gump, I highly recommend it. We head back to Thanarian and let him know we took out the bears. He tells us our work isn't done yet and we should prepare for more bloodshed. Oh goody. We have taken out the sick animals of the forest and eased the forest's pain for a moment, but we must now take out the den mother of the bears near Bashalaran. Terenthis is saddened by the news about the furbolgs, and we need to prepare for the inevitable. The camp south of Auberdine is currently the biggest threat. We need to thin their numbers in return. Alundarian is ecstatic to get her strider meat, eager for our opinion on the strider stew dish. I'm glad she enjoys her hobby. Thundress is glad our scouting of the furbolg situation came at an opportune time. Auberdine has had to not only deal with hostile dwellers of the area, but also corruption of the forest itself. The Cliffspring River has begun to turn foul, and it empties into the ocean. He fears the wash will soon affect Auberdine. The Blackwood furbolgs are the most likely source of the taint, but they might not be the root of the problem. We need to take a sampling tube to the mouth of the river and take a sample from the first waterfall. We can head south for a bit to give northern Darkshore a break from our relentless path of destruction. We can find the remains of a beached creature nearby Auberdine. A bit more south we can find the furbolg camp and start taking them out. We take out the 5 Blackwood Windwalker first, and then the 8 Blackwood Pathfinders. We can keep heading south down the road and find Sentinel Tisha Moonblade in the bushes near the ruins of Ametheron. The ruins are currently home to the spirits of the Highborn who used to dwell there, but it used to be a place that the servants of Azera, who is now the Queen of the Naga, practiced magic. Tisha was sent to explore the ruins, and she came across 2 tablets scrawled with the story of Ametheron and its fall. She was attacked by the spirits, so she would like us to study them in her stead. Well, joke's on her, Draenei can't read Elvish, so this will be interesting. We find the first tablet to the north called the Lay of Ametheron, and yep, we can't read this. Hold please while I Google this. This tablet explains that the Kaldarai lived on the rim of the Well of Eternity. They believed Elune, the moon goddess, dwelt within it. The elves built their cities around the well, keeping their gaze to the night sky. Ametheron and Bashalaran were major cities under the rule of Azera, where her Highborn lived. Athricus Narasin was placed in the Tower of Alathralax to rule over the two cities. His second in command was Asterion, a mage known for his arcane talents who lived in Bashalaran and cared for the needs of a Metheran. Well, I hope freeing Asterion doesn't have any consequences later. We take out Highborn for the relics as we head south until we find the ancient flame and destroy the seal in it. Just a bit further south and we find the fall of a Metheran tablet. Can't read this one either, so another Google search it is. Earthquakes shook the ground, taking down groves tended by the children of Cenarius, and the stone towers of the Calderai come crumbling down. The enchanted sky changed with a discharge of magic, and explosions threatened to tear the world asunder. Brother fought brother, but not all of the Highborn fought. Some stood transfixed as the madness took them. The mightiest cities and the humblest towns were felled alike. In a Metheran, people clung to the ground as if that would spare them. Athricus Narasin then appeared to guide them to safety. With a spell, he would protect them, giving them life eternal and have naught to fear from the Sundering. Well, considering all the spirits around here, I'm going to guess the protection was less than successful. We finish gathering the 7 Highborn relics, then head back to Tisha. She mentions they have few records from around the War of the Ancients and the destruction of the Well of Eternity, which is understandable given the apocalypse going on at the time. She thanks us for the help as she can now finish her report. We spend a bit more time around the ruins as we still hadn't found Anaya Dawnrunner. We finally manage to spot her and take the pendant she drops for Cerulean. We head back to Auberdine when I spot the weirdest stump along the side of the road. The screaming faces definitely sell the vibe that Darkshore has some creepy secrets and corruption going on. We let Terenthus know about the furbolgs we've killed, and he tells us not to mourn what needed to be done to protect the people of Auberdine. We still need to address the Felmoss issue, though. He wants to know if we can lend a hand to help Grimclaw and Volcor, which will get us a cloak that can stealth us in Darkshore. To make the cloak, he needs 5 Moonstalker pelts from sires or matriarchs who can be found in the south. These pelts have just as good a drop rate as the Fangs did. We can talk to Thundrus and give him the Highborn relics, which he believes should have been destroyed during the Sundering. He'll make sure they are taken care of now, so their magic cannot be released again. You can really see the disdain for magic the Night Elves have harbored, even now, thousands of years later. We can bring the pendant to Cerulean, who explains he traveled the Emerald Dream with Malfurion to sleep the passing of years, taking the sorrow of his killed love with him. He thanks us for taking care of this for him, even if it might have been better for him to do it, because he could not strike her down even now. We get a Tear of Grief for this, which also has -3 spirit. I can only imagine, while this man wept on the side of a pier for his love lost once again, we quickly took out an empty bottle and scooped up a tear from the poor man's face. My friend is an alchemist. We had the flasks available. Yeah, I would feel pretty guilty about doing that too. I don't know why doing this would make you more intelligent, but I can only speculate we learned a lot about the logistics of tear harvesting. Anaya appears in front of Cerulean after you give him the pendant, and they have a little heart-to-heart. She does mention that she was in some sort of slavery that we freed her from, which is putting more stock in the whole protection thing being a lie. We'll leave Cerulean here to mourn, I think. We can talk to Gwyneth about the beached creature we found. It's only recently these creatures started beaching themselves in alarming numbers. She thinks of it as some type of ill omen. We give her the bones we found. She'll get it on a hippogriff to Darnassus as soon as possible. The Temple of the Moon is offering a small fund to hand out for assistance in this matter. There are more beached creatures along the shore, and even in the water. One was spotted in the water due west off of Auberdine, close to a sunken boat. We should collect anything we can find and bring it back. Well, we might as well go get it since it's so close by. We gather the sea turtle remains, then head back to Gwyneth. We give her the remains and she's ecstatic at the sample. We've been a big help on having a chance to unlock the mystery of the beached creatures of Darkshore. The idea that they could be fleeing the area around Teldrassil is disturbing. If we find any more, we should bring them to her. This unlocks being able to pick up other remains around the zone, each one having their own quest. I won't be using this Tear of Grief, so I figured we should find somewhere to sell it. I figured, who better than the blacksmithing supplies vendor? I'm sure they can use it as some sort of quenching liquid. What could go wrong? We head back north to let Astarion know about the seal being destroyed. He is overjoyed to be freed, but it seems all this time he hasn't been able to see what the world was becoming, and only now sees the destruction the Sundering caused. Last he walked free, Azara still ruled. He senses that Athricus still lives, and his thoughts turn to vengeance. I have a feeling that Athricus isn't really a good person and might still be in that tower. We can head back to the beach and run along it to find beached carcasses. We can pick up one we passed earlier by the shipwrecks. It's the remains of a giant thresher, much larger than you'd find along the coast of Darkshore. The murlocs around it look much too weak to have killed it, so they must just be scavengers. The next creature is a large turtle with a hut on the back of it. Kind of looks like the mounts the Pandarians will use later. This one, however, is a sea turtle and appears to have been driven into the shore instead of being beached like the other creatures. Murlocs have also started scavenging off of it. In the carriage is a box with strange markings. Further along the beach we find another sea turtle, this time without a carriage. No murlocs are scavenging this one, so either they haven't found it or are staying away from it. Regardless, there's enough left for a sample. Since we are by the Cliff Spring River, we head into the mouth and take a sample at the first waterfall. We decide to take a fishing break and try to catch those electropellers for whiz-bang. After about 15 minutes we find the electropellers, and I almost finish leveling the fishing skill to 150. We head south to the mountain range and find the Den Mother, taking her out and her cubs. Since it's nearby, we head slightly north and into the Cliff Spring Falls to collect some mushrooms. We find Naga have taken over the cave, as well as a couple Twilight cultists seem to be having a meeting with them here. Curious indeed. We find the Death Cap mushroom next to where the cultists had been. The 5 scaber stalks can be found around the rest of the cave and are easy to obtain. Since it's back up, we hearth back to Auberdine. We can talk to Barathras and give him the mushrooms, freshly picked. He thanks us and asks if we found anything to confirm the warning of the ancients. I suppose the Naga and the Twilight cult working together would be considered bad news. Onu, the Ancient of Lore, would like to speak with us after hearing of our journey in the cliff waterfalls. We can find him south along the mountains, and if he is asking for our counsel, then it must be urgent. We can head to Whizbang, who needs the electropellers to keep working on the duck decoys. He can't believe we found them. We must be the best fishermen ever. As a reward, he'll give us a fish lens to put on our rod to assist with fishing. Not bad at all. We can bring the remains to Gwyneth, who hopes one day their research will help the creatures from running themselves needlessly into the shore. She thanks us for another sample for the research and will send it for proper study. With the crate, she tells us that they are making great strides to uncover the cause of the beachings, but whenever one question is answered, 2 more seem to appear. She has heard of the turtle carriages. They're used by the Naga for transportation and in battle. This would explain their invasive presence in the north. She'll send the box to Darnassus as well. We give her the last remains we have, and she's intrigued on why the murlocs were not present at this turtle. They'll keep it in mind as they study the remains. We can talk to Thanarian, who tells us we fight with bravery and honor. Many would not rise to meet the challenge of life in their new homes, instead choosing to hide or escape to more fortified lands. He thanks us and hopes we'll fight alongside them as comrades one day. We can talk to Thundrus and give him the water sample. The pollution of Cliff Spring is just the beginning of an alarming trend in Darkshore. He is alarmed at how tainted the water is, and action will be needed sooner rather than later. Past the East Mountains is Fellwood, the real source of the corruption. We might be able to enact a cure there, but we'll need more assistance when the time comes. The source of the corruption for the Furbolg, however, is a satyr. They hold sway with talismans. We need to lure out the satyr and take the talisman. We can fill a bowl at the Moonwell and use samples of the Furbolg's food to mix with it. Placing it near a bonfire near the river will cleanse any Furbolg who eat it and lure the satyr out of hiding. We can fill the bowl before we head out. We can head east first and find the large red crystal in the mountains. Best be careful as the Moonkin are patrolling all around it. We can head south now until we find the Grove of the Ancients. In the ruins we can find a food and drink vendor and a trade supplies vendor. We can talk to Onu, who is glad we have arrived as we have matters to discuss. It is strange that the Naga are here, but even more so is that the Twilight Hammer is. That cult worships the old gods of the earth that were defeated long ago. The Master's Glaive, to the south, is where one such lord fell. We should go there and see if we can find any cultists. They gave us a file of scrying to use after searching to speak with Onu without having to come back. It's been a while, but we can finally give Onu Fandrel's message. It is strange that the Archdruid is in such a hurry. The forests know that things will come to pass when they are meant to. Malfurion also knew this. We can talk to Kurlonian Evershade at the back of the ruins. He was on his way to Maestra's post to meet with Laladris Moonriver, but stopped here to take a nap. Ever since he woke up from the Emerald Dream, he's been very sleepy. Can we show him the way to the post? During the trip, he might fall asleep, so if we need to wake him, there is a horn in the chest here. We grab the horn and head out. Thankfully, this is another escort where the NPC will follow you instead. We head south, having to stop periodically to wake Carlonian back up, and having to take down a couple ambushes, but we make it to Maeshra's post with little issue. Once we get him to the entrance of the main building, he says we can let Laladris know he's here. She's happy he made it, and is sure she'll find him sleeping somewhere around here. We get thanked for showing him the way here. Since we are here, we can give the letter to Delgren. We seem a bit well equipped for a messenger, but he supposes that Beluth wanted to make sure the message got to him. When demonic or undead forces are found, he helps the Sentinels destroy them. Delgren has come to respect the Night Elves as allies over time. It looks like the cult is here too, but we can do this quest later when we tackle Ashenvale. Back to Darkshore, we can start taking out Moonstalkers for the pelts. Yet another low drop rate quest that has no business being this low. We find a rare blue plain strider while hunting the cats called Strider Clutchmother. She drops some shoes that I actually take as it increases my intellect. Other stats can wait until I find better quest rewards. We keep hunting cats and start running into grizzle bears, so might as well collect their scalps while we're at it. Alas, since it's not a full head, we won't count them. I managed to find the 5 Moonstalker pelts first. While hunting bears, we find the Master's Glaive, and it does indeed have cultists in it. They can drop a quest item, so I suppose it's time to slaughter them all. We head to the central area, where a book reaches out with a Worgen arm and smacks you. How rude! We can use the file of scrying and talk to Onu about the cultists. The old lord impaled here is long dead, but that doesn't mean slivers of his power hasn't remained. My friend gets smacked by the book again in the background, which was hilarious. The cultists' purpose is unknown, but must be dark in nature. We should search the camp for something that can teach us about their intentions. Luckily, we cleared the central area and can pick up the less handsy book. It's hand-printed in an ancient language and illustrated by a master artist. The tome is maddening. Text begins to swim and dance at a glance, and the scrollwork begins to twist into grotesque shapes. We are only able to rip a page out before having to stumble away. Well, time to kill some cultists until someone drops an item for us. Coming around the side of the monument, you can see it's actually a glowing sword impaled in a giant squid head. This is one of the first looks you can get at a faceless one, besides just references to their existence. This is actually Sagoth the Slitherer, a herald of the old gods, so a bit higher up the pecking order than a regular faceless one. He was slain by the Titan's stone giant Kron. Around the back of his head, we can find a dryad called Theraloon. She's been wandering the area when the cultists surrounded her, so she hid. We need to help her get out of here and send word to her sister, Therasil, in Ashenvale that she's alright. Well, we just cleared out the area trying to find a drop, so this was the easiest escort ever. She walks up the eastern hill to the road and runs off. Where was that speed when trying to exit a dangerous area? Well, we get back to it, circle the area a few more times, forgetting the book in the center and getting knocked over a couple more times until we find the book, The Powers Below. Although terribly worn, we can still read the title. Inside, the book is a list of unpronounceable names with foreboding titles, methods of worship, and preferred sacrifices. On the inside of the cover is Bone Grips, Runes, and Dooms, the Forlorn Cavern Ironforge. We need to bring the book to Garrig in Ironforge to see if he'll buy it, for some reason. I'm more wondering why there is an occult shop in Ironforge. Well, Cultist detour out of the way, it's back to killing 20 bears to find 4 scalps. It's really giving Severa Hooves a run for its money for most horrible drop rate right now. I finally find 4 scalps and we can give them to Buzzbox 525 nearby. Whizbang is singing a little song about Crawler Wine, Thresher Ale, Moonstalker Moonshine, and Thistlebear Beer, which he will have soon. It's here that he reveals what we've managed to figure out already. These boxes aren't broken communication devices, they make alcohol. Essentially, he uses these boxes to get around the Night Elves disapproving using the wildlife to make booze. I don't know how my rampage through the forest killing any creature in my way, then sticking the body parts into a clearly gnome device hasn't tipped off the Sentinels yet. Well, he gives us a bag and some of the alcohol, so at least we get to try some of the fruits of our labors. We head over to the excavation site and find Prospector Remtravel. He mistakes us for Holly, which should be impossible as I look nothing like a dwarf. At least he realizes it pretty quick. It's apparent that absent-minded is a bit of an understatement. I think this dwarf either has ADHD or is going senile. Considering he's still mistaking me for Holly and can't seem to keep a straight thought, I'm going to lean more towards dementia than ADHD. He seems to think we are looking for a brush, or a fossil, or maybe even Holly at this point. We need to keep him safe while looking for the fossil the Explorer League is waiting for. These ruins look like they might come from the Titans, since they're being protected by stone golems, but they also look elven, so who knows. He also has a copy of the Green Hills of Stranglethorn, which I would have gladly taken off his hands instead of having to piece one together later. We loop through the entire area, only for him to tell us that Holly has the fossil. Wonderful. Well, have fun with no situational awareness down here, Rem Travel. We head to the coast to collect more beached creature remains. There is a large sea mammal surrounded by much stronger murlocs than seen anywhere else. There is enough left to get a sample. Further south, we find another sea turtle with a carriage. Powerful murlocs have made this carcass their home, but there is another crate left behind on the turtle. Continuing south is another sea turtle picked nearly clean by the murlocs. It also seems to have been some time since this turtle beached itself. One more island south and we find a giant thresher carcass. It is several times larger than the threshers in Darkshore, and it doesn't appear to be from Darkshore at all. Heading back north, we find a murloc hut village. Attacking it summons waves of murlocs from the ocean until Murkdeep appears. We can take him down and keep moving north. We find another beached creature that appears to be a giant mammal. A wheelbarrow and other tools seem abandoned nearby, as if other attempts to study it were made. Murlocs have scavenged it, but we can still get a sample. Continuing north, we find one last turtle. It's been here for some time and completely encamped by murlocs, but we can grab a sample. On our way back to Auberdine, we come across Helden Galesong, a fisherman. He's selling some cooking recipes, including clam chowder, which is very handy with how many clams I've been finding off murlocs lately. Back in Auberdine, we can give our creature collection to Gwyneth. The first one is bones from a mammal that is around the base of Teldrassil. They aren't known to beach themselves like threshers sometimes do. Why would they do this in Darkshore then? She confirms the strange crate is another Naga turtle, though perhaps they were headed to Ashenvale this time, as no Naga have been spotted in southern Darkshore. The next remains are a sea turtle. They used to swim around the base of Nordrassil before it was destroyed, but now they are seen in decreasing numbers around Teldrassil. There must be a reason they are beaching themselves away from the tree. The next remains are the very large thresher we found. Large threshers could be found around Teldrassil, but they are decreasing in numbers as well. There could be some speculation about why multiple species seem to be fleeing the New World Tree. Next is the remains with the wheelbarrow. It was originally being studied by the Explorers League before they were chased off by murlocs. She's thankful I was able to get a sample from it where they failed. The last sea turtle is just received with cheerful gratitude. I suppose even Blizzard can run out of dialogue for Teldrassil is giving off bad vibes after 10 carcasses. We can let Galinda know we took down Murkdeep. Auberdine will be delighted to know they can sleep a little more soundly with that threat taken care of. She would like to offer us a reward as a true hero of the people. Galinda is surprised that red crystal exists and wonder what exactly is it? Why are the Moonkin drawn to it? Is it benign or more sinister in nature? We are going to need to examine it. We can get some Moonwell water and pour it over the crystal. The potent magic in the water should provide a clue to its composition. We need to be careful since if the crystal fell from Fellwood, it could be very dangerous. We let Holly know about Rem travel. She's relieved he is safe, but doesn't understand why he'd want to stay there with the golems. She doesn't feel right leaving Darkshore without Rem travel to bring the fossil to Darnassus. Holly gives it to us and asks we bring it to Grey Whisker for her. We can give Terenthus the 5 pelts we finally managed to collect. He'll need a few more minutes to make the cloak. After we use the cloak, we won't be able to take any actions other than talk to people or it will disrupt the stealth. A few minutes actually means a few seconds, I guess, because the cloak is ready. We now need to find Volcor. The stealth from the cloak will only last 5 minutes, so it's best to use once we know where Volcor is. He is in a cave in South Darkshore. Along the road, we can find Grimclaw, who will point us in the correct direction. We can fill the tube with Moonwell water before we leave. Back to the red stone, we can hear a faint humming from it. We pour the Moonwell water on it. As the water cascades over the surface, it turns from opaque red to transparent. Revealed is that the crystal has small bone fragments embedded inside, as well as half a jawbone. It looks humanoid, but can't be confirmed unless we broke the crystal, which is next to impossible with magic. We head north and start collecting the various rations from the furball camp. We can get a grain sample, a nut sample, and a fruit sample. Mixing it together with the Moonwell water, we can place it down by the bonfire in the middle of the camp. This caused a bunch of furbolg to run over, and in a moment of panic, we thought we were going to be attacked. Instead, they tuck into the meal offering and become friendly. This causes the satyr Zabraxis to become enraged and attack us. We take him down and pick up his Talisman of Corruption. We can head back to the Grove of the Ancients and give Onu the page of insane scribbles we've been carrying around. Really hope having it stashed in my backpack for so long doesn't have any lasting effects. The page has chaotic, primal magic saturating it, most definitely the work of the Old Ones. Onu studies the page and gets struck with unleashed magic from it. The original book that page is from was an ancient text written by elves. It's been heavily twisted by the Twilight's hammer, but it seems they are using ancient elven magic to bring back their masters. We need to travel to the ruins of Mathrista to the far north and search for ancient relics among the ruins. Hopefully we can figure out how the cult plans to exploit the ancient magic of the elves. We find Grimclaw along the road south of the grove and wave at him. He turns southeast and shows us the cave that Volcor is in. As you get closer, you can put the cloak on and enter Stealth Cat form to get past the furbolgs. Once in the cave, you can remove the form to talk to Volcor. He seems to be in bad shape, trying to hold bandages from falling off. We let him know Terenthis sent us with the cloak, and he's happy someone finally sent help for him. The furbolgs wounded him before he could get away. We have two options now. Either quest will work and cancel out the other. We can give the cloak to Volcor and let him stealth his way out while we fight our way out unassisted, or we can keep the cloak and have Volcor help us fight our way out. Since I don't need the cloak or his assistance, I pick letting him stealth out. Once we make it out, we can talk to Terenthis and let him know we got Volcor out of the cave. He thanks us for the help, turns into a completely visible cat, then runs out. Well, I'm sure he'll be okay. It was easy for us to leave too. We just run away south to find Sentinel Anesha. She has the voice lines from Warcraft 3 for the Sentinel unit from the Night Elf campaign. Even the quest title, One Shot, One Kill, is a line they say when you select them to attack. She was traveling to Auberdine with an important message when she was attacked by furbolgs. During the attack, she was poisoned and is barely able to stand. She can make an antidote, but it will take time. We need to defend her until she can apply the antidote, and she will assist us with her bow as much as she can. If we live, we can let Anoya at Maestress Post know about this incident while she continues her journey to Auberdine. We take out increasing waves of furbolgs until Morogh the Devious appears. Anesha conveniently runs out of arrows at this moment, but we easily take him down anyway. Her leg feels much better, so the remedy must be working. She's off to Auberdine, so we can speak to Anoya for our reward. Back to Auberdine, we can let Terenthis know about Volcor. Our assistance has given him faith that Auberdine can overcome the challenges of Darkshore and beyond. We can let Galinda know about what we found in the Red Crystal. All this has done is pose more questions about it. She'll take the information we found to the council in Auberdine and see if they have any course of action they want to do about the crystal. That's if they want to take any action at all. The crystal is keeping the Moonkin threat away from Auberdine for now. We can give the Talisman of Corruption to Thunderous. We have won a battle today against the corruption in the forest. We get a reward as thanks for our actions, as what we have learned today may help free the rest of the furbolgs from their corruption permanently. We can now head all the way north to the ruins of Mathrista to gather relics. We also find one more quest along the beach here. Gelkak Gyromast's ship has been sunk by Threshodons offshore. He needs his first mate back in order. The key for his first mate, which is a harvest shredder for context, was broken on the rocks and pilfered by the wildlife of Darkshore. Crawlers, forest riders, and murlocs were rummaging the wreckage. Wonderful! Another super low drop rate on a bunch of animals. At this point, I would rather level through the Barrens again. Darkshore has officially claimed the most annoying drop rate zone in my eyes. Thankfully, it only took a couple crabs to find the bottom half of the key. We managed to wipe the entire northern half of the forest of its strider population with no key, so it's back to relic hunting. While looking for relics, I find a curious cat statue. It just gives me a great item, but now I own a cat statue. I find another cat figurine and it spawns a ghost saber. Out of curiosity, I looked this up in case it was for a quest I missed, but nope, it's just an optional beast you can summon to tame as a hunter pet. So, if you want a ghost cat as a pet, come collect some cat figurines. We get our 6 relics from around the ruins. We find a giant water pit like the entrance to Black Phantom Depths, and I had to resist the urge to jump into it. And I also find 6 cat figurines. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but they're mine now. We head back into the forest and finally find the top half of the key from the Striders. That just leaves the last piece, that can drop off any Murloc in the zone. Oh boy. We settle in for the grind, clearing Murlocs off the various beached creatures as we head south, until we get to the 2 shipwreck boats offshore. As we approach killing Murlocs in the water, a random grey mist seer drops the key fragment. The entire Murloc grind took 5 minutes. This makes up for all of the awful drop rates we've been having for the rest of the zone, for sure. We head back to Gelkak and give him the key fragments. He's ecstatic we found the key fragments and he can get his first mate back in order. Have we seen him by any chance? If we find him, we need to place the key in him and lead him back to Gelkak. The Murlocs aren't going to be too happy once he has his first mate back. Well, luckily for him, the Thresh Wackinator 4100 is just south of here. We passed him on the way back. We insert the key and start the first mate. He'll follow us now. Once we get back to Gelkak, the first mate suddenly turns violent and we have to take him down. Gelkak seems a little ungrateful for us saving his life, but at least he still gives us a reward. I don't know if the first mate had beef with Gelkak, but none of my business. The water-breathing potions will come in handy at least. Back to Auberdine, I make the decision to hand in all of the breadcrumb quests in Ashenvale to clear out our quest log before moving on, as they are technically Darkshore quests since I picked them up here. We can grab one more before leaving from Fiora Longears. She directs us to Ashtanar as we could do some real good there. We can talk to Shindrel Swiftfire and offer our services. Also shouldn't mention who sent us, for some reason. On our way south, we can stop and give the relics to Onu. These relics are from when Mithristra was at its most powerful. That bastion has since faded, but shards of the magic remain. He is hopeful they can unlock the secrets before the cultists do. Our next stop is Maestra's Post, where we can let Onea know about Anesha. She gives us a reward for our good deed and wishes Elune to watch over and guide our path. We head south up the hill and take a detour down a dirt path to the Shrine of Asina. Here we can let Therasil know about our rescue of Theralune. She's surprised where we found her, as that's a long way to wander, and the Master's Glaive is an unwholesome place. She thanks us for letting her know that Theralune is alright. Now we can head into Ashtanar, the town in the center of a lake. We talk to Shindrel Swiftfire, who welcomes our aid. Even though Ashenvale retains its beauty, it's not as peaceful as it once was. We can talk to Vindicator Palinar, who has had word sent ahead of us from Valistra that we were coming. The people of Ashenvale will need our aid. We have 2 quests to talk to Rain Wolfrunner. The first is the quest from Saralyn, and Rain wishes our trip here wasn't under such stress, but perhaps we can help improve matters. The second quest is from Thundress. She would remind him who saved who, and that she doesn't require looking after. Now that we're here, we can surely find something to do. Well, it'll be a while before we do any of the quests here, so see you all later. Back to Darnassus after a quick flight back, we can give Grey Whisker the fossil from Holly. Grey Whisker is impressed with another Rem travel find, even though it was slightly lost for a while. The fossil bears a resemblance to one in Ironforge. Flagongut brought it to the annual conference. He believed the fossil had a power yet to be unlocked. Last he heard, Flagongut is in the tavern in Menethil Harbor, awaiting escort to the Whalegar excavation site. We should bring him the fossil. Back to Auberdine, we can wait for the ship to Menethil Harbor. One trip across the ocean later, and we can find Flagongut on the 2nd floor of the inn. He's amazed this fossil came from Kalimdor, maybe implying that the one he found was from the Eastern Kingdoms. The next quest is now officially a wetlands quest, so we will be back later. Since we are now done the 2 Night Elf areas, we can move on to our next race. The dwarves are the closest in Dunmorogh, close being relative to Stormwind. So nothing else to do but take a trek up a mountain. It's been a while, but cue the travel montage. Welcome to Ironforge. We have one quest remaining for Darkshore, and that's selling a cultist book. Garrig Bonegrip is in his house in the Forlorn Cavern, and we offer him the book. He immediately recognizes the book, but notices that it's in terrible shape and covered in notes on almost every page. This copy was sold to Bulgar last year, and Garrig mistakes us as a friend of Bulgar, which makes us a friend of Garrig. The next quest is for Black Phantom Depths, and we could read it next episode when I tour Ironforge. Our next adventure will be exploring the snowy peaks of Dunmorrow, and I hope to see all of you there. Thank you all so much for watching my video. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying the journey through Azeroth with me. I don't think I'll be doing the quests in Darkshore for a while after this. The frustration on the drop rate was very high this episode. I've thought about what I would like to do for my 100 subscriber milestone, and I figure I could make a community in the game. So once I have the money, I'll be making an alliance and a horde guild for the channel on the server I play on, so people can come hang out and enjoy exploring the world with me. More to follow once my characters aren't poor anymore from buying their first mounts. See you guys next time.